Dream Team, it's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with why NHS junior doctors keep going on strike with our guy Evan Edinger. But before we dive in, y'all know I need y'all to dive into that subscribe button, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. You guys have a favorite video suggested, you can subscribe to Patreon, drop it in the comment section or in the description section. There's a Google form link, or there's a premium request link. What we got?
This week, all over the UK, junior doctors have been on strike. Now, we had a 4-day bank holiday weekend for Easter, 4 days of industrial action of the strike itself, and then another 2-day weekend. So essentially, we've had 10 days of a severely reduced service for the NHS. And the NHS have been warning people, saying, you have to wait upwards of 12 hours just to be seen, which is only mildly scary considering that when there's not an industrial action strike, there's also long wait times of around 12 hours.
12 hours? Yeah, they on strike for sure. Gosh!
So what gives? Why exactly are junior doctors striking? And are their demands even a little bit realistic? Today we're going to be looking at all of that and talking a bit more about the history of the issue, as well as my favorite subject of all time, math, because there's a lot of math involved in this actually. Also, by the way, if you're wondering why my voice sounds so weird, I am getting over 3 weeks of different illnesses, from COVID to food poisoning to another big flu. Hooray!
Oh
this is what comes with cutting. But either way, if you're an American across the pond, you might not know the term junior doctor. Does that mean someone that doesn't have that much experience? Not really. Junior doctors actually make up 45% of the NHS workforce.
Oh, wow.
That's a huge proportion. So if you've ever been treated by the NHS, gone to a GP or gone to a hospital, there's a pretty high chance that 1 or 2 of the people that helped you along the way were junior doctors. And that doesn't mean that they've just started becoming a doctor. Sure, when you start and you finish your 5 years of medical school, you are deemed a junior doctor in the foundation, second foundation. There's a lot of steps. However, you can still be deemed a junior doctor even after 10 years of work. It's only eventually you get to the level up of consultant or you specialize. Personally, I wish we could all just refer to them as doctors and then maybe the consultants as super doctors, AI Max or something. I don't know. It's marketing in me. But long story short, junior doctors are incredibly important to the NHS system and are not inexperienced in the slightest. The opposite. So here's the problem. Over the last 14 years, junior doctors have received a cumulative pay rise of 16.9%. And as of the 2016 contract, a basic pay for a junior doctor starts at £14.09 an hour. And it was recently reported that the upper echelon of just working at a pret-a-manger gets you £14.25 an hour. So the argument being, if you're a junior doctor and you're looking for a little career change, maybe make a little bit more money, you can help stop someone from flatlining and instead help make them a flat white. And give them money for it. Sounds like a good deal. When I had my...
Did he say he went to 5 years, 5 years of school, and then you go into work as a junior doctor, but I mean, really a doctor out there in the workforce, like 14 and 9 cents an hour, 14. That ain't gonna cut it, man. They gotta be paid more than that. Doctor gotta be paid more than that, man.
My friend Ian on, who's a junior doctor himself, a lot of you in my audience were absolutely furious at the low rate of pay he received. And I think that just makes sense. We as humans are going to associate a higher monetary value to someone that had to study for 5 years, who works shifts from midnight to 8 a.m. and saves lives, over someone that, you know, sells sandwiches and bagels. They don't even have bagels at Pret. They don't even have bagels at Pret. This is absolutely not to say that people at Pret should not be paid as much as they are.
Yeah,
no,
they should get that.
The converse. People in the NHS should be paid more. In 2018, the Conservative government so gracefully provided all NHS staff with a 3% pay rise every year over the next 4 years. Well, except they left out a huge chunk of NHS staff, the ones that are doing a huge majority of the work, the junior doctors. They were actually just given a standard bare bones 2%. Just a 1% difference, but that adds up, especially considering that they hadn't received many pay rises over the last 10 years as well. Now, I don't know if you've seen the news recently, but inflation in the UK has been at an all-time high, a 41-year high. The average of the last 6 months has been in the double digits at around 10 to 12%. And what that means is that if you are not receiving a pay rise that is around the same amount of inflation or more, you've effectively received a pay cut in your purchasing power. Now, just imagine that, except compound it over 14 years, and that's essentially what's going on with junior doctors right now. The argument the British Medical Association, or BMA, essentially the trade union for UK doctors, has been making is that over the last 14 years, junior doctors have been working just as hard, if not arguably more so due to the pandemic, However, they've received a significant decrease in pay and the value that their money is worth, 26.1%. That's massive. And the BMA didn't want to have to strike, but they presented the situation to the current Conservative government, who essentially didn't even come to the table. Well, what were the demands that made the Conservative government turn away so quickly? Well, it turns out because they've said that we've lost 26.1% of our wages as UK junior doctors, we want a 35% pay rise, not essentially to get more money, but to bring us up to the value that we were receiving in 2008. So they're not even asking for more money. They just want to have at least a return to normalcy, the rate that they were receiving in 2008. But some of you that are less math inclined might be a bit confused here. Wait, so they have a 26.1% decrease in value. Why are they asking for 35%? That's a massive number. Well, let me explain it to you simply.
I ain't even gonna lie to y'all junior doctors at the NHS, and like, I know a lot of people in the UK think the US is a scary country with the gun laws, and we do a lot of stupid stuff. But I'm telling y'all junior doctors, hey, make that trip over here and you're going to make some money. Make that trip over here. You're going to make some money hand over foot. You feel me? You're going to be getting paid. Because that's crazy. I feel like, 14... That's insane to me. 5 years of school, junior doctor, bro. No, that is insane, bro. I just make the trip. Get whatever you got to do to get over here. Get to the U.S. Put the fear of guns behind you, and the violence. You just got to put it behind you, because If they not even willing to come to the table with y'all, like, that's crazy. That's insane. Absolutely insane. Like, at the bare minimum, it should be 20 plus an hour for what they do. Bare minimum 20 plus.
Just say I give you £100 in 2010, and I say I'd like that same value back in 2020. Now let's say that inflation over those 10 years was 25%. That means the value of that £100 has gone down 25%. So you can multiply it by 75%, or 3 over 4, and get £75. That's how much the value is now. However, ask for the same exact value back, and so we need to multiply that £75 by a number to get back to 100. If you say, oh, it's 25% inflation, so just multiply it by 0.25, no, that comes out to around 93, so not quite. You actually have to do the reciprocal. I just like math, guys. Instead of 75% or 3 over 4, just flip it. Now it's 4 over 3. Multiply that by 75, and what do you get? 1.333, or 33%. So in the original example, junior doctors' wages are worth 26.1% less, meaning that if you do 73.9% over 100 and then flip that and then multiply it, you're going to get 35%. That's how they did the math. It's all fair. They just want to get their value back to 2008's levels. And that doesn't even factor in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt in order to provide their life-saving service. But this is actually incredibly crucial to the story. That is going to be coming up again. So what exactly is the opposition on this issue then? Well, the current health secretary of the Conservative government basically won't even come to the bargaining table, stating that the 35% number is just unreasonable. And I would agree that it is unreasonable that we have not paid our important NHS staff for so long, over 14 years, to get to the point where we need to recoup them that amount. But he actually has a different argument. He's saying 35% is just too large because the BMA is using the retail price index, a bit of an outdated index. Don't be mad at me, statisticians. In regards to judging inflation, we should be using more of a modern day one, such as the CPI, Consumer Price Index, or one that includes housing, the CPIH, because the CPI, which is one that's used all around the world, whereas the RPI seems to mostly be an outdated one from World War II just within the UK, the Retail Price Index, well, that one is significantly higher all the time. And so by using the RPI, it means that it looks as if the wages and the value that they've been paid is going to be at 26% as opposed to a more reasonable 11 to 16%. Both of these are just estimates of inflation, though, and the purchasing power that our money has. But does that mean that the BMA is being a bit unreasonable by using the larger number? No. You see, they have an incredibly good trap card, counter-offensive to this. You see, the government loves having its cake and eating it too, despite the possibility for weight inflation. And even though they don't seem to support doctors, they do support doctoring the numbers when it's in their favor. Even though the retail the RPI is supposed to be phased out by 2030 as use as a national statistic, and the Office of National Statistics themselves say it's not really a good measure of inflation anymore due to its many weaknesses, well, the UK government do still employ it, but specifically when it comes to fees you owe them. I'm not working for the government, I don't know why I did that. Prices of train tickets going up? Let's link that to the RPI. It's a larger number than the CPI. Prices of alcohol duty, tobacco duty, car tax, air passenger duty. Oh, you know what else? How about student loans? So if you are a junior doctor and you've got hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of student loan debt that you have to pay back to the government, well, what should we charge the interest rate? How about we peg it to the largest index, RPI? That's what the government has done. Or do 3% plus RPI. That way we get the most money to fatten up that nice government coffer. But what about when the government has to pay you? What about some benefits? I don't know, for instance, universal credit, housing benefits, those type. Let's link that one to CPI. The number's smaller. That way the government doesn't have to pay you as much.
Yeah, that's how the government be doing things. But yeah, the government, they gonna figure out a way to get you out your money. That's crazy. I don't even, without inflation, like, to me, it's crazy that 14 still. That's why 14 pounds an hour is still wild to me, like, without inflation. That regular base pay for a junior doctor, that number is unfathomable in my head. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand it. I don't get that one, man. I don't get that one.
Let's link that one to CPI. The number's smaller. That way the government doesn't have to pay you as much. It's such a transparent scheme. Do you not see the relevance of specifically choosing the higher number when you have to pay them versus the smaller number when they have to pay you? It's like that neighbor you had of yours that would always change the rules of the game you're playing to make sure they always won. Just shit. So the BMA is rightfully arguing that if the government is pegging the interest on their student loans off of RPI, then they have every right to peg their wage increase off of RPI. Fair. And as much as I think the UK should just completely ditch RPI already, it does have its uses, and like I said, I'm not trying to get into any fights with any statisticians out there, but they do have a point. But it looks like the government is not budging in the slightest. You'd know this because this isn't even the first bout of industrial action. If you Google NHS strike, you'll see this has been going on for years. We had a 3-day strike in March and now a 4-day strike in April, and it doesn't look like it's going to be getting any better, especially because a recent polling by the BMA found that 4 out of 10 junior doctors are planning to leave the NHS when they can. And if you've been to a hospital in the recent, 5 years, you've seen the dilapidated state of the NHS. So if we're going to be losing 40% of our doctors to bloody Australia, well, how could it get any worse, you say? Welcome to the Tory government. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of Tory supporters out there in my comment section whipping out their dick to pee in all of our cornflakes. Well, Tory's going to pee in our cornflakes as the stream continues to flow.
There's a lot of Tory supporters out there whipping out their dick to pee in our cornflakes. While they say Tories don't want to pee in our cornflakes as the stream continues to flow. Nice use of words, Evan.
Our cornflakes, while saying Tories don't want to pee in our cornflakes as the stream continues to flow. Just to say Tories don't want to dismantle the NHS while they actively work to dismantle the NHS. Yes. It's just gross, but it's just part of their playbook, so you just got to get used to it. Now, politics aside, it's been shown that 73% of the British public support linking the salaries of our NHS staff to inflation. But why is the government not a fan of that? The government that the public voted for? Oh, because they're really out of touch with almost all of society, except for their rich donors. That's just the way it is. See, people always go, Evan, you always make all these videos about US bad. UK bad sometimes too, when they're destroying one of the best institutions we have. Our universal healthcare used to be one of the best parts about living in the UK, and the Tories have actively been working to destroy it from the inside out, to make it feel like it's always been bad, when it really hasn't. They have been bad. I got really loud there, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to do a lot of audio editing for this. We have such a clear vision of how this can go wrong by just looking at the US and looking how horrible that system is, and yet toys are very happy to have that happen. Tasty, tasty. The thing is, we're already experiencing such a massive shortage in NHS staff, and anything else to further make this issue worse is just, it womps. Bringing it back, recess. And it makes sense that such a large proportion of the British public support raising the wages for our NHS staff. They're helping us most in our time of need, and we shouldn't be helping them back by giving them an applause once a week during the pandemic or giving them 10% discounts on a flat white. That's not the UK I want to live in. If public service employees' wages were pegged to inflation, we wouldn't have to have this conversation every single year. We wouldn't have to have strikes, whether that be in healthcare or even the London Underground always having strikes because they're always having to have negotiations as opposed to just pegging it to inflation at least. And that way, we don't have to have that. Everything just runs smoothly and there we go, problem solved. Supposedly that would cause a death spiral of inflation. Supposedly. But we don't know unless we try. And at least we could say we paid people fairly. The thing is, we're going to be driving away the small amount of doctors that we have here. The best thing we can do is make being a junior doctor an exciting role again to stay in the UK and work for the NHS. I know it's a difficult battle to try and convince people not to move to Australia for higher pay, but at the very least, we can pay junior doctors more than someone working at a sandwich shop. Because who knows, in the future, there might not be enough doctors left, and so the only way you're gonna have that baby is having it in a manger, because the only doctor we had left is working at a manger. And that's the pun. The pun hurt me. Now, I am making a part 2 of this video in the near future about dentistry in the UK, which is, if you can imagine it, an even worse situation.
Are you
so
serious?
Be sure to subscribe for that. Other than that, hope you're keeping well. Watch another video of mine if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll see you next Sunday, as I always do. Haven't missed a video in 11 years. Goodbye.
Yeah, this was insane to me to watch, bro. This was absolutely crazy to me. Like, I still can't. I don't think I'll ever be able to get over to understand it. Yeah, but whoever, they trying to destroy the NHS. Yeah, for sure. If the government not even willing to sit down at the table and talk to you about your demands, and 45% in junior doctors make up 45% of the workforce for the NHS, yeah, they trying to destroy it. I mean, it's clear. And if they don't care enough to sit at the table and try to talk with you and negotiate this thing out, they don't care. They don't care about the NHS. Y'all might be getting the American system soon. And while that'll be good for doctors, it'll be bad for everybody else. Be bad for consumers. But that's crazy. Yeah, first of all, like if I knew that I was gonna stay in the UK and that's what's going on. Like, I'm not going to school to be a junior doctor. Like, no, I wouldn't go to school to be a doctor unless I plan on like moving to, like you said, to Australia, to US, to somewhere that just pay doctors more. I'm not doing it because why? 14. That's I can't even put it into words. We're going to react to another video on the NHS, but it's going to be Russell Howard talking about the strikes. I can't wait to get to it, but that's all we got for this one. You guys got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon and drop it in the comment section. It's your boy D Neal. Out.